Yo, it's me, it's the SCOTT baby. And I'm back. Welcome to Throwback Thursdays, where I take a look at a film from the 90s. And this week's film is The Fugitive, starring Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones, and is directed by Andrew Davis. And is based on the 1960s TV series of the same name. Alright, so, as I do sometimes, a little backstory of me with this film. This is a film that my grandparents used to watch a lot. If it wasn't for my grandparents, I don't think I would like Harrison Ford as an actor as much as I do. Maybe later in life I would have found, oh, Harrison Ford is good, but I grew up with Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and just like Harrison Ford was Harrison Ford. They watched movies like Patriot Games and The Fugitive, and it wasn't till, let's see, she was still alive, maybe like 2013, I think, 2013 at least, my grandma was still around, that I came over to their house for dinner, and my grandpa was watching this movie, and I sat there with him watching it, and I was just like, why have I never watched this film before? It's a great film. It's great, and it's post-pounding action, man. The story is Dr. Richard Kimball is blamed for the death of his wife, and he is sent to death row. Although on the way to death row, some prisoners break free and cause a train wreck, which after the train wreck, only he and another fugitive are still alive, and so the police dispatch U.S. Marshal Samuel Gerard to find Kimball and bring him back. So, all the while, Kimball was trying to find out who killed his wife and bring him to justice. So, right away, I found something very similar to this. So, The Fugitive came out in 1993. And it's very similar to another film that the backstory is similar to another film I've already reviewed. And that's The Crow Salvation. Think about it. A man on death row being blamed for the murder of the woman he loved, claiming that someone with a disability or something that has to do with his arm. In this movie, it's a one-armed man. In The Crow Salvation, it's a man with a scar on his arm, and he's wrongfully accused. In The Crow Salvation, however, he actually dies. He comes back as the Crow. This one, he's on the run. So the backstory is kind of similar. It's like whoever wrote the script for Crow Salvation, it's like, hey, let's use The Fugitive for a little bit of backstory. Because it is kind of like the backstory thing. Although, in the Crow Salvation, they were outright framing him, whereas this one, he was the actual target for the murder. And we'll get to that. But, so, yeah, he's, on the run. They show this thing at the beginning. Right away, it starts you out. He's in court. And it shows flashbacks to what happened when he came home. Because she said his name on a voice message to the 911. That automatically says, hey, he did it. She said his name. He did it. A little more evidence than that. There's a gun and there's stuff and there's just, but yeah, and Kimball gets into a fight with this one-armed man with a prosthetic limb. he still goes to jail. And, he says he didn't do it, and after this little incident, some of the other inmates, they set this up where this one guy, he has convulsions, and then he has foaming from the mouth, and it's all set up because once they go open the door, go back there, they beat him up, they cause a ruckus, and then the whole thing tips over, gets hit by an oncoming train, going to, and then Kimball runs, him and one other fugitive, which they find later. So they dispatch Samuel Gerard of the U.S. Marshals. And, so Gerard is the kind of guy who's just doing his job. His job is not to prove that, Gerard's job is not to solve the case or prove whether or not Kimball is innocent or not. He's just there to bring him in. To the point that there's that great scene where they're in the tunnel there, the sewer tunnel or whatever, and Kimball says straight out, "I didn't kill my wife." To which Gerard just says, "I don't care." He doesn't care. He's just there to take him in. He's not there to solve any case, although he does start kind of putting things together once he realizes what Kimball is doing. As I think, while they're still trying to bring Kimball to justice, once he realizes that Kimball is trying to solve something, it clicks in his head, maybe he's not guilty. Maybe we need to take a second look at this, When he first escapes, he goes to a friend named Charles Nichols, who is supposed to be his friend. And, spoiler alert, of course, it turns out that Charles Nichols is the one behind the whole thing. But, straight out, there's a hint towards this. He goes to Charles Nichols, he asks for help, and then when Gerard gets to him, talk to him, Nichols plain out says, Kimball didn't kill his wife. He outright tells the police Kimball didn't kill his wife. And that right there is a little subtle thing. It's like, he's telling you, he's telling us, Kimball didn't do it. So it's a little hint like, oh hey, he knows Kimball didn't do it. He's on the phone with him or whatever. He's like, Kimball didn't kill his wife. So Kimball tracks down the guy, whose name I don't remember, but he's one-armed. He finds him, and then he makes a phone call from that guy's house, which Gerard tracks and finds, and then interviews the guys like, Kimball's looking for a one-armed man. What, me? Okay, you got me. I did it. I have one arm. That means I did it. Then that's another hint. And it's like, okay, so this whole plan, it's kind of like a convoluted plan, because it kind of makes sense to me. They were planning on killing him because he found out that one of the drugs that they want to pass through causes liver failure, I think it is. Kidney or liver failure, one of the two. It was causing health problems, let's say that. And as a result, if that went through to the FDA, they'd never approve it. So they were planning on murdering Kimball, although since he's going to death row, that's kind of just, an extension of their plan. They killed the other doctor, Lentz, and then they completely rewrote the diagnosis thing with different words. And so that he could get this drug passed through the FDA. My question is, why? Why would you? I don't understand the importance of passing this drug through the FDA. You know it's going to cause, bodily harm. But what is so important about passing it through? I don't think they ever really mentioned it other than he's a bad guy and he wants to do this. Why does he want to do this? Why is he trying to pass it through? understand it. Maybe they mentioned it, maybe I missed it. If I did, let me know in the comments, but I just don't get it. He's so, he's trying to push this through and get this through the FDA so that this drug can go be in circulation, and I don't understand why. There is a scene in this that shows, I think it's a great scene. He's a doctor, so it's a great show that a doctor really cares. Is that there's a scene where he's disguised himself as a janitor, so he can sneak around the hospital and get information. And he finds there's a patient with a ruptured rib or something, and he knows that what's really wrong with him, but he can't do anything about it. So what he does is that they tell him to take him to somewhere, and he takes him to surgery. He writes the thing out, where he needs to go to surgery. And we have a cameo from Julianne Moore, who confronts him about it, and then he just takes off after she goes to get security. I understand that you don't know who this person is, but he just saved your ass because you were doing the wrong things to this patient, and 2, he saved your patient. You're welcome. But yeah, it really shows you that as a doctor, that's your first instinct, is to care for patients. Even though he's on the run from the law, he's going to stop to do this because it's what's right. This movie, it ends. It's one of those endings that usually I don't care for, but it does give us enough information. After the incident, he confronts Charlie, and he gets up to this chase on the roof, to which Gerard gets up there and holds him at gunpoint, but he's already beat the crap out of Charlie, and he goes, "They killed my wife." And Gerard says, I know, Richard, I know they did. So he believes him now. And so he handcuffs again, he puts him in the car, and then he uncuffs him and gives him like an ice pack. And Kimball says, "I thought you didn't care." To which Gerard replies, "I don't." And smiles at him, and then they drive off, and that's the end of the movie. But it tells you enough. He's going to get, he's no longer a fugitive. He's free to go. He's not going to, his wife is dead, but he's going to get his life back. He'll be a doctor again, And they didn't do a sequel, because I always thought U.S. Marshals was a sequel, but it's a spinoff. They did do a spinoff, U.S. Marshals, with Tommy Lee Jones, and most of the actors who played the U.S. Marshals in this film did come back, except for L. Scott Caldwell, who played the one of the characters in this. She was recast. I should mention, Gerard does eventually catch up with the other fugitive, and he ends up dead. And that really shows you in that point that he'll do whatever it takes to bring down the fugitive. If it gets to a point where, like, if he absolutely did not believe Kimball and Kimball wouldn't come in, he would shoot him. If it got to that drastic kind of moment, he would have shot Kimball just to make sure he did his job. But he didn't have to do that. I think the performances of Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones in this film are great. The atmosphere is great. 90s. It's PG-13. But the sequel is rated R though. U.S. Marshals. I swear, U.S. Marshals is rated R. I have to look. I don't know where it is right now. I look at it, but yeah. But it's a pretty good movie. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It's a really good movie. One of Harrison Ford's better films, I think. Up there with Indiana Jones and Star Wars. But yeah, like you only hear, when you think of Harrison Ford, you think Indiana Jones, Star Wars. Well, now think Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and The Fugitive. And I dropped the damn thing. There you go. So what are your thoughts on the Fugitive? Let me know in the comments below. I've been Scotty. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.